Tell me, have you ever met that one person who always says they want to start something? They want to start a business, start going to the gym, start a YouTube channel, learn a new skill, or apply for a better job. But every time you talk to them, they always come up with excuses why they can't begin. They say things like, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, I need to learn more first, or simply that they are just waiting for the right time. And maybe you've been that person yourself. I know I have. And this is where the magician enters the story. The magician is the second card of the Major Arcana, and his lesson is very simple. He says, you may already have more than you think you do. And before we dive in any deeper, say hello in the comments and let me know where you're watching from. And if you're enjoying this tarot journey so far, then please don't forget to subscribe because we are learning tarot from scratch, one card at a time. And also, if you'd like a chance to have one tarot question answered for free, then subscribe to the channel and send me a message using the details on the screen. Now let's talk about the magician. Imagine the fool from our previous session. He has just stepped off the cliff. He is excited, curious, and a little nervous. The world is full of possibilities. But then, reality arrives. Because having a dream and doing something are two very different things. That's where the magician comes into the picture. Now, when I first saw this card years ago, I thought that it looked like a magician performing tricks. You know, the kind of magician that you'd see pulling a rabbit out of a hat. But the more I studied the card, the more I realized that it is not talking about tricks at all. It is talking about potential, human potential, and the ability to take an idea and turn it into reality. Look closely at the card. The magician stands behind a table, and on the table are four objects: a wand, a cup, a sword, and a pentacle. Now when you look at it, it looks like random items, but they are not. Together they represent everything that a person needs to create something meaningful, which is passion, emotion, thought, action, heart, mind, inspiration, and practical effort. The card is almost saying that look around you, what you need is already here. And that's a lesson many of us spend years learning because human beings are funny that way. We tend to focus on what's missing, not what we already have. Let's say someone with 10,000 rupees wishes that they had 1 lakh. Someone with 1 lakh wishes they had 10 lakh. So someone with 10,000 subscribers wishes that they had 100,000. And somebody with 100,000 wishes that they had 1,000,000. So the finish line just keeps moving. So the magician asks a very uncomfortable question, which is, what if you already have enough to begin? Not enough to finish, but enough to begin. Most successful people did not start with perfect conditions. Most started with whatever they had, which is a borrowed laptop, a tiny office, a second-hand camera, a single client, a small audience, or just a rough idea. The difference is not in the resources, the difference is the action. And that's the energy of the magician. Now let's see how this card might appear in an actual reading. So suppose someone asks about their career. Then the magician often appears when a person has more skills than they realize. Maybe they are ready for a promotion. Maybe they are ready to start something of their own, ready to speak up or ready to take the lead. The card does not promise success, but it does say that the ingredients are there. The opportunity is there. The question is whether you will use them. In a love reading, the magician can be very fascinating. Imagine meeting somebody who is charming, confident, funny, and good at conversation. The kind of person who can walk into a room and immediately capture attention. That's often magician energy. But on a deeper level, the card can also ask, are you communicating honestly? Are you expressing what you really feel? Or are you hoping that the other person magically just figures it out? Because healthy relationships require communication. And communication is one of the magician's greatest assets and greatest gifts. If somebody asks, "How does this person see me?" then the magician often suggests admiration. They may see you as capable, talented, intelligent, resourceful, someone who knows how to make things happen, and someone with presence, and someone who leaves quite an impression. And as advice, the magician is wonderfully direct. It says, stop preparing forever, stop waiting forever, stop researching forever. Just start. Not perfectly, but just start. Because confidence rarely arrives before action, and confidence usually arrives after action. So that's what makes this card powerful. Most people think that the magician is about manifestation, and in a way it is, but not manifestation in the way that social media talks about. The magician does not sit on a sofa visualizing success all day. The magician works, experiments, learns, adjusts, creates, and acts. So it teaches you the bridge between reality and dreams, and that is participation. You have to do something. You have to give life something to work with. So the fool gives us faith, and the magician gives us responsibility. When faith tells us this is possible, the magician tells us what are you going to do about it. And that might be the most important lesson of this card, because every single dream eventually reaches a moment where inspiration ends and effort begins. The magician lives in that moment. So if this card appeared in your reading today, then ask yourself, what am I postponing because I don't feel ready? And what would happen if I started anyway? Now, in our next lesson, we are going to meet a very different character. The magician is all about action and creating in the outer world, but the high priestess is about stillness, intuition, and wisdom. She doesn't tell us to do more. She teaches us to listen more. And trust me, her lessons are some of the most beautiful ones in the entire deck. So until then, keep learning and see you next time. Bye-bye.